What's good, y'all? I am back with another ride on the S429 Carrion e-bike. And I was riding above the hills of my town through some trails that I had never been on before. And this actually turned out to be just one annoying ride because what I do when I go out is I try and discover new trails. I don't always ride the same trails, and maybe it's better to do that, because then you can find the best spots to catch some speed, air, whatever else. But I wanted to find some technical tracks and something new, generally animal trails, because animal trails, they're usually single track, they're very narrow, go through bushes, tight bushes, and they're just more fun, because they got a lot of ups and downs, bumps, whatever else. And it just turned out to be a series of dead ends that was so annoying that I had to turn around a whole bunch of times. I found an old witch's shack. We'll cover that in here too. Guys, I can't tell you how much this annoyed me. And I went across some of the roughest terrain that I've ever ridden on, period. And I used to ride professionally back in my early 20s. Let me tell you something. I've never been on rougher terrain. And let me think if that's true or not. No, I've never been on rougher terrain than on this ride here. So I'm riding through the forest. This is a trail that my wife and I had walked on multiple times. But there were little sections that I'd never been to. And so I decided now, since on this bike you can cover 30 kilometers in just what feels like minutes, I'd go and check out these trails because, an e-bike makes riding and exploring trails very forgiving. You can power through rough sections, uphills, whatnot. If you turn the wrong way, here, I'm looking, which way am I going to go? Because I've never been beyond this point in the video. It is just very forgiving. So here, I want to just see where this trail goes in general. Generally, we haven't gotten this far and, on the trail, and I decided, let me go see where it goes. It ended up going to a main road where there's a lot of high-speed traffic. People are driving 70 kilometers and up. And I know where that road goes because I drive it frequently. And so it just turned out to be a dead end in that regard. It's not a dead end, but a dead end for mountain biking. And I got to the parking lot up here, and I just decided to, stop and turn around and go back. So this was the start of the first of the dead ends, and this was probably the longest section of dead ends that I experienced. I turned around and I had seen a double track. It could have been a farmer's track, it could have been a firefighter's track, going off to what is my right. When I was coming up, of course, it was on my left, and I decided to go ahead and try it. So I went down and I said, let me see where this goes. It could be a farmer's track through the forest, it could be, a fire road through the forest. It turned out to actually just be a farmer's access road to his fields and literally nothing else. But it took me a long time to figure that out. So I ride down here. I see this hunter's shack or shed or whatever you want to call it. Hunter stand, I think is the term. And as you can see right now, the trail has ended. And that should have been my sign to actually go back. But a lot of times what happens is these farmers, they have interconnecting fields. And so when you ride into these fields, there's an exit somewhere else so he can have access to another field, and it wasn't there. So here I see an animal trail and I ride up to it and I'm like, can I go down it? And it just literally, it's a drop off. It turns out to be a ravine. I'll be on the opposite side where you see those trees on the other side. That's actually on the other side of the little mini ravine. I'll see this same trail from the other side, and I'll realize at that moment that it was actually a good idea not to just do it. 'Cause sometimes I just blind into some trails and that's it. I just, in the proper understanding of the Akita, I'll just try my luck and just go straight down into it. And that would have been a bad idea. So here I'm looking for another animal trail. I find one, but this is probably like a small deer or a small pig trail because it's literally waist high for me. I could push through it, but there's a lot of thorns from, what do they call? I think the British call them brambles. We call them blackberry bushes. Those things, they grab your clothes and everything, and they'll just, scratch you up. So I decided against it. Now here's where I find the witch's shack. I'm riding. I call it witch's shack. It's probably not a witch's shack, but that's what it looked like. I start riding up the hill, and then I see a gate, and it's literally, this is the middle of nowhere. There's nothing out here except fields and stuff. So I go back. I'm like, oh, I gotta see this. Why is there a fence and a gate out here? And it's right behind these trees, as you can see. I go in with the entire bike. I don't dismount. and I just, I'm pushing through. There's thorns, everything. It's really rough, as you can see. This is the GoPro Hero 7, if you guys don't know, in case you're looking for one or something like this. I push the gate open. I ride inside there. I'm like, where does this go? And when I look up to the right here, you see that there's a little shack up there. And I turn it so you can see. And the door is sort of kicked in, and it's just straight black in there, and it looks just real dodgy. I've watched enough horror movies. I know what happens to the black guy in the horror movie. I'm deciding, am I going to go in or not? I said, nah. I just head right back out. I'm like, screw that. I know what happens to the black guy in the horror movie. We're always the first ones to die. So, but in reality, we're always the last ones to die because we're like, nope, I'm out. So I head out, and I start riding up the hill, looking for more exit/access trails or roads, maybe fire roads that farmers or what's supposed to be for fire trucks. And it just turns out there's absolutely nothing on this side of the field. So here I go back, and you have a view of the roof of the witch's shack, but you can't see it on camera like you can with the naked eye. So it's unfortunate. I tried to film it for you guys clearly with the camera, but it didn't show up, unfortunately. So yeah, I ride around the field looking for this exit, and I don't find it. And so I'm gonna go and try and find another trail on the other side of the field, because at this point I decided, or at that point when I ride around and I notice that there's no way out, that I'm gonna go try this trail near the hunter's shed, because the hunters maybe have a trail into the forest that they use for whatever they use it for. Okay, so here I'm now going across the field, or I went across the field, and I'm coming back to the hunting shed. And behind the hunting shed, there's a trail. Turns out this trail is also an animal trail. Talk about, what do you call this? Some sort of weird humor. Animals are using an animal trail right behind the hunter's stand. And it's animal height. That's why you're seeing the camera going through bushes and whatnot. And it's a pretty steep downhill that goes down into what the animals use as a watering hole. So they probably use it as a crossing point and a watering hole. It's quite steep. You can't see it on the camera. I stopped because I see at the bottom there's nothing but a bunch of fallen trees there was a windstorm recently, just before this video was filmed, and a lot of fallen trees. Probably some of them had fallen earlier than that. And it's just pure mud and muck. As you can see down there's like that shimmer of water. That's actually a river covered in leaves. It's fall in Germany, obviously, and a lot of, trees are losing their leaves, like happens. And so I'm like, man, it's like, I know I have to go back. And this is when I actually give up on the field. And so I'm pushing up the hill here, and I'm using the walk feature on the Conway. Now, if you don't know, what happens is there's a button that says walk. You press that button plus the plus button. You press that button, it changes to walk. And you press the plus button, and the bike just rolls. You can push the bike, but the motor just works. And so it was really handy on this uphill, because the Conway is very heavy. It's a very heavy bike. The battery on its own is very heavy. And I get up here, and I just decide, that's it. I'm done. I'm leaving here. There's nothing here, and I'm going to go explore another trail. So where I was first indecisive in making up my mind where I was going to go, when I was talking at the beginning of the video, I decided I'm going to go back there. And I'm going to try that trail, which turned out it was something of a dead end. You're going to see. So it turned out to be a nightmare also. But when we get to that section, I want to talk about something that came to my attention about my tires. And I talked about this in an earlier video when I first introduced the Conway and my problems with flat tires. And this is a place where I definitely should have got a flat tire and I didn't. And I told you guys my solution and it worked. I have no definitive proof that it worked, but other than there being no flat tire, but I'll tell you why I think it works when we get there. Now, just before I get to that section, I'm riding up the road here and yeah, we'll talk about it when we get there. Okay, so here is the trail where I was first indecisive about. And I was thinking about going up here. Looks like a fire road or an access road to a farmer's field. Turns out that this was just a logger's road and another dead end. This dead end turned out to be the roughest ride I've ever been on. But I'm going to talk about this in another section where the Conway actually came through and it was amazing. So about right here, I realized you could see me slowing down. I'm having second thoughts. I'm like, okay, the trail's disappeared. There's nothing here. I'm like, what's going on here? There's nothing but sticks and branches and just like, logs everywhere. It's really rough. It's really bumpy. Kudos to the GoPro Hero 7 Black stabilization. You can't tell, but I'm like really over some rough terrain. And there comes a section where it's like the track just completely disappears and there's like just a little puddle there. Maybe I'm riding on like some sort of little animal style trail right here. And there's like a little puddle where you can see where water constantly and consistently collects. And I'm just like, okay, where do I go now? Now, these are dry, hard, brittle branches. And I've gotten several flat tires in the past on, similar. And I have these like green slime inner tubes. There's green slime in the tubes and they're supposed to prevent you from getting a flat tire. And there's no way that I didn't get a puncture or two here. So I'm thinking, considering how I've had 3 flat tires since I've gotten this bike, I'm thinking that those tires are actually doing their job and preventing flats because I have like had to add air. So I think maybe there's been like, a leak and it's blocked off. And here I decide to just get off of this stuff and I'm going to go to the right. I saw a little section where it's open and open in terms of it's just leaves and it just turned out to be a bunch of sticks and whatever else. And I'm going to ride up the hill here. So I think those inner tubes are doing their job. Now here, a tree actually tried to kill me. It's like sticking out like a jousting pole from a knight. I'm going to ride right into it. Here it comes. Bam. And it literally throws me off course. And it's like just a huge pointed stick that broke off and is stuck in my bike. And you can see it here on the camera. It's literally stuck in my bike. It tried to stick me in the chest and I turned at the last minute. And I stop up here and I take that thing out and I show it to the camera and I toss it. That thing tried to kill me. I take that kind of personal. So here I'm going to stop and I'm going to pull it out because it's just hanging on my bike and won't go away. And I'm like, what the heck? Crazy old bike. This wasn't the trail, but I ended up in a farmer's field. So it's not an access road to a farmer's trail. And I ended up having to ride across this farmer's field. This was super bumpy. If this was a regular, I'm going to call it an analog bike, there's no way I would have, been able to ride across this field. I'd have probably walked across it. It was like soft ground with brittle hay sticking up out of it. And so it was a really rough ride. The bike has a lot of power. I got the most power. It's like the 95 Newton meter engine on it. And it actually came through here. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit when I get to the main road, because now I have an idea where I am and where I'm going, but I know that there's no road here. And I'm just going to spend a lot of time here going through really rough terrain, really high grass, avoiding like massive mud pits and whatnot. You're going to see yourself. And then my audio is going to pop back in when I'm speaking to the camera in a little bit here. Okay, so one of the problems with this helmet is drinking. So I guess it's fine that this let me get some lighting. There's black people in lighting. I guess it's fine that the whatchamacallit, the helmet straps turn out to be crap. Makes it easier for me to get the helmet off, get a drink. That was some of the roughest terrain I've been on this bike. So really kudos to Bosch, that CX motor. Whew, really punchy. Always kept in a really low range gearing and really power through. Cars coming this way. It's kind of, the road's cut off. Really punchy and a lot of power through that super rough terrain. You'll see it on my GoPro, and yeah, quite impressed. Path didn't go where I thought it was going to go, so I'm gonna go back, take a different route through the woods, and see if I can find my way around through the forest there. It's cold. It's cold right now, and I'm not impressed with the airflow through this helmet either. I'm sweating like an animal in here, so yeah. But we'll keep on. So back on the road, going back to the same place I started, because there's multiple trails on that road. This is so where I first started off at the very start of the beginning. I mean, the first like 5 seconds of the video. I'm going back to that entry point into the forest because there's multiple trails and break offs left and right that go places that I don't know, and I want to go see. I want to go to explore and find out where they go. Hopefully, I find some nice trails. I know they go downhill into a valley, and so I want to check out where they go. Turned out to be another nightmare of dead ends, multiple dead ends, and just really making this ride one of the craziest I've had since I owned this bike. So okay, so I've gotten to the trail that I want to go. It's a downhill. I know it's a half decent long one because my wife and I have walked down to like a T branch in this trail that goes left up into a farmer's field, but I know where that goes. And I'm going down this trail, and I'm literally, at one point we start flying, and getting a lot of speed down through here, and it's really great. But a lot of mud, but I don't mind. And I'm thinking again, farmer access field, fire road. And this is probably a a fire road. It's probably not a farmer's access road, because this literally turns into another dead end, but in the middle of the forest. And there were a lot of fallen logs and whatnot. It just turned into a real issue trying to get through here at one point. But up until that point, it was quite nice. Now, earlier I said that I would see the other side of the ravine from that field. So remember, I was in the field and I said there was an animal trail that goes into like a ravine. Well, that's where we are now. And so here I slow down because I see that, oh, okay, that's that animal trail. So I turn to go take a look at it, because I'm starting to recognize the right side, from the opposite side. I'm like, oh, that's where I was. And so I start, just checking out where that trail went to. So in the future, I know, okay, I could take that trail to get to where I'm at now. No, I can't. Now, if you look in the middle of the screen, there's a log, and that log is where the trail goes. So if I'd ridden down there, I'd have probably rode into the log. And if I hadn't ridden into the log, I'd have probably hit it, or would have grabbed onto something on my bike, and then thrown me off of it. And then you can't see it on camera, but down there is also a little like river, and it's like a very steep drop off. I'd have nose planted, and then trying to get up out of the ravine would have been difficult also. So it turned out that it was a good idea not to take that trail. I get back on the trail, and back into riding on the trail. The downhill's over at this point, and it's deep into the forest. You can tell by the condition of the trail, nobody walks here. No one walks their dogs here. I'm in territory that people just don't use in Germany. And Germans usually, they walk in the woods, they enjoy themselves, they go, all over the place. This is unused, untouched trail. If anything's out here, it's animals and gin, And I really see at this point that like this trail is unused by anyone, including like, fire road marshals or whatever they're called in Germany, because there's a bunch of fallen over logs in the road. And if this is a fire access road and someone reports it, then they're obligated to come out, cut it into pieces, and clear the road so that, it doesn't become a fire hazard when they want to come and try and put out a forest fire. Here, I slow down and I'm confused because I realize this trail, it has ended. I don't know where the trail is. There's no trail. It just opens up into the forest. I see that the openness goes this way, and I saw back there a trail, but I said, let me go see where this goes. And I just ride over this crazy terrain, and I made it. I was surprised. I thought I was going to have to dismount. I thought I was going to get all slippery and throw me off. And I'm stopped here and I'm looking, where does this go? And my battery is also low here, so I'm going to do a battery change on my GoPro. But I ride up a little bit. I look around. I'm like, there's nothing here. This just literally goes into dense forest that you can't ride through. There's no trail. I don't see an animal trail, no nothing. And it just wouldn't make sense to ride through that type of terrain with those branches sticking out. It's going to grab my clothes. It's going to hurt. It's just stupid. So I go back. And, I noticed that there has been a person out here, but quite some time ago, they stacked some rocks here. You could see them like that little pyramid thing down in the middle of the valley there. That's like hand stacked rocks, but it's probably been there for years. And I come down here to get a closer look at it and decide to change the battery on my GoPro. So GoPro battery is changed, and now I decided to go back, and I saw an animal trail back here, and I decided I'm going to take it. I'm like, I don't know where it goes, like everything else here, and I decided to take this trail. Now this trail was a dead end also, but it was fun. And here it got a bit not dodgy, but I was kind of worried, because I couldn't see anything at one point. I'm just going to come up here, you're going to see it. I'm going to stop, and I'm actually going to dismount, and I'm going to walk the trail. So here I'm like, okay, I got a blind curve. I don't know where it goes, what's behind that curve, nothing. I might get stuck in like a single track trail on my bike and I can't turn around. I got to turn the bike around this trail. So I decide to dismount, and I pull out my knife here because pigs, everything out here, pigs are dangerous. I don't know if you guys know that. And I decided to, to go through here armed and check out where the trail goes, and I go on foot for quite some time. And yeah, it was kind of creepy. I don't know how to say it. Maybe I shouldn't say it's creepy. I'm a grown guy. I'm not scared of much. There I am with the knife like, yo, I'm about to go check this out. I cleaned the mud off there. And that's my Pro Polygyny backpack. If you want to buy one, you can check it out on my Gumroad. And I go through the trail there, just looking to see where it goes and, where it goes. And it turns out it goes pretty far, and that's why I decided, you'll see, I'll come back and I'll mount up and I'll ride through there. But it was a little fun trail, but it was another dead end, and it was very annoying. So I was thinking about leaving just this section muted, but there's literally like quite a bit of time that I'm gone, and there's no sound. I thought it'd be too boring. So just talking about some of the equipment, I use the Insta361. That's a 360 camera that's mounted on top of the GoPro. There's a mount that I actually use. I'll maybe do a review on that handlebar mount that my GoPro Hero 7 Black is mounted to. It is inside, of course, an underwater case. That's why the sound is not coming from the GoPro, but it's actually post-recording. This is post-editing. I, of course, have the Conway S429. What else do I keep with me? I did a brief introduction to my riding kit. And, of course, the slime, inner tubes. I probably should do like an introduction to each one of these pieces, just like as a kit, your on bike kit. I will be doing a light review because I ride at night. It's winter in Germany. Daylight is very short. There's not much. And these are supposed to be super, like 50,000 lumens lights. Now, I don't think they're that bright, but then maybe in an all dark environment, it will be. So here you can see I come back, I put my knife away, and I decide, all right, the trail is worthy of riding. And so I hop on the bike, and, I push through this just mad little skinny trail. Let me tell you something, guys. This trail was just crazy. It was fun to ride through. It was short, even though it went to a dead end, it was kind of fun just because of how, like, weird this little track was. Don't ask me why. I know it looks boring, but when you're on the bike and you're doing it, it looks fun. So I go through this little section. It's obviously 100% an animal trail. People do not walk this, probably never have. So I'm probably the first human to be on this trail. And that's probably very arrogant of me to believe, but I believe it. And because there's a lot of animal tracks here too. And maybe next time I'll do some animal track photos and whatnot. I have my German hunting license, so I can identify most of the animals by their tracks. I never lost that. I ride down here, and you'll see I slow down after riding over some of these logs. I'm like, where does this go? And it turns out it goes nowhere. Now, here's the crazy part. To the right of me is that farmer's field that was the dead end. And there's that little ravine to my right, and there's another ravine to my left. And so going right, there's animal trails there, but they just lead into that goofy ravine and into these tiny animal tracks. So there's nowhere for me to go there, and going left, it just goes, I think there's a trail up in the forest there. I'm not sure. I can't tell. That's what I'm looking at right now. And I'm like, okay, how do I get up to that trail? It looks like a fire road or a farmer's access road. We don't know which. And I just decide, I'm not going to mess with it and try and figure it out, because it might not actually be a trail. I might just be seeing like, something else. So I ride back up this this terrain and head back to the little tiny trail and head out of the forest back the way I came, again, annoyed again that this turned into being nothing but another dead end. And I really enjoy my riding time, so I like to make some distance and actually, do and see stuff. And I guess I actually did go and do and see stuff, but this wasn't what the idea I had in my mind when I took this ride. So maybe I should appreciate the fact that I actually got some time on the bike, but I like to just, really blaze through downhills and whatnot, and have a lot of fun. And I suppose if I had gone out with the idea of just exploring only and not, exploring like downhills and fast tracks and whatnot, I'd have probably appreciated this ride a little bit more. Looking at it now, I'm like, this was kind of a cool day. But at the time, I was just like, yo, are you serious right now? And I forgot what happened here. I think I got stuck in the mud. Yeah, it was like when I came back, I got stuck. So, yeah. Now I'm going to head back up to that road I was on before. And basically, in my mind, this trip is over. I do some more riding, but in my head, I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm not going to go home, but I am going to go. I'm going to go ride what I know right now. And so of course I didn't give up. I'm because I'm goofy, and I ended up on another dead end. But we'll get to that. So now it's just gonna be sound of the bike riding through the GoPro. When you hear just that and the dunk dunk, that's me changing gears. And of course you're hearing the engine through the mount in the GoPro mount, because inside the GoPro mount it's waterproof. You don't hear any sound because, well, it's waterproof, and so there's no way for the mic to pick up sound through the waterproof cover. So that's all you're going to hear for a little while until I get to the next section where I think some commentary is necessary. So you can see I'm slowing down here. That's because there's a trail that goes in, a double track trail that goes into the forest here. And for a brief second, I was like, should I check it out? And I was like, no, I'm done. In my head, because I'd mapped out this entire area and I know to the left there is that farmer's field, I decided that it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to dump off into the middle of the forest somewhere. And so I decided to just ignore it and keep riding. So here, this is much later in the video, I ended up riding through some trails I know, and I went off this like main road into the forest because I saw a trail, and it turned out that this trail was a dead end too. I got to about right here and I realized this trail isn't going anywhere, but it looked like an animal trail, and I don't have a clue where these fields go to, so I decided to go ahead and follow it. Maybe it leads me to somewhere nice. No, it didn't. So what ended up happening was I just, ended up riding through the forest, literally through leaves and branches and sticks. And, yeah, it just stopped being a trail. I guess this is where the animals sort of like, disperse and do their thing, but, it's definitely a crossing point for the animals. They probably cross there, and that's why it looks like there's a trail. And in seeing that trail, I decided that I was going to try and find out where it goes. It goes nowhere. Eventually, a trail does pick up, but it's from a field. You can see it through the trees straight ahead of me. Apparently, the animals come from the fields, and they have another crossing point here. I did pick up that trail and ended up back on the main road. So it's probably two crossing points for animals that come from the fields going somewhere else, maybe to water. I don't know, but definitely not a human trail, just a trail in the bush. So as you can see, I end up back on this main road, and on this main road, I turned down 2 dead ends. I don't like to be on the main road. That's not what I bought a mountain bike for. If I'd wanted to ride on roads, I'd have bought a road bike, right? So up here along that upcoming tree line you see up there to the right, there's a trail there, or it's a road, and it looks like it goes into what looks like the area where a lake is. Turns out to be, it's just like a service center for road works, and it's actually not allowed to go in there. So I turned around. I turned down the trail. I start riding. I'm all happy. I'm like, wee, nice. And then I see the sign. And anytime you see a sign in Germany, you know that means stay out of there. And so there's like a gate and a sign. And I'm like, I see a lake up inside there. There is a lake there. And I stop to read the sign. It basically says, you know, only authorized personnel are allowed to enter inside there. I turn around and I go back up to the main road. Dead end again. So at this point, I'm literally done. There's one more wrong turn I take. I almost run into like a little chain. And at that point, I'm like, you know what, I'm done. And I literally just decided to ride home. And so this is basically the end of the video. You're going to see me make this last wrong turn, dead end turn. And I'm just, after that, I call it quits. I did do some riding around, but it was mostly on roads. And I just went home. I was so sick and tired of like just dead ends and empty trails and roads and, you know, not going anywhere, that I was like, okay, this is just a cursed ride today and it's not going to get better. And it was starting to get dark, so I just said, you know what, let me just call this quits, because I'm going to be making, you know, dead end turns in the middle of the night, and I'm not going to be able to see, you know, where I'm going. So it's just going to be the worst time to go on dead end trails. I just didn't see the ride getting or going any better. All in all, this trip turned out to be 17 kilometers in total. It's not far. You know, I usually do about 30 plus in a ride. Here's that wrong turn. And I just said, you know what, that's it. I'm done. You know, and as you can see, I almost smacked right into that chain. There it is. Whoop. This was it. This is the end of the video, guys. I just said, you know what, I'm done. And I decided to go home. So when I get back to riding out in Berlin, I can't wait to share that with you guys. I am going to do a lot of travel and moving videos up until then, so look forward to those. We'll see you guys out there on the channel. Thanks for watching. If you got this far, I'm out.